as a company started just 3 years ago, but the research started back over about 25 years ago.
There's a little sub-industry of the building industry that's called ICF, insulating concrete form. And for a long time, there's been styrofoam blocks, polystyrene, I guess is the technical name. But Dan mentioned that he came up with the idea back in the late 80s. I always tease him that he hit his head on the sink and had that aha moment. But just said he could do that better, and looked at different products and found polyurethane was a better compound to use, and found a way to make the polyurethane block. And so you just stack them, fill them with concrete and rebar, and they're stay-in-place insulating concrete forms. Stack them like Legos, fill them with concrete, and you have a highly fire-resistant, soundproof, and highly insulated building.
Polyurethane it's just a very mean animal. It's a two-part system, and if you contaminate them in any way, you get an adverse reaction. If you put too much iso or too much polyol, the block comes out way too rigid or just comes out real soft. And so you've got to have a perfect blend all the time. But the biggest problem is as we've talked before, polyurethane is very sticky. I mean, it's like I said, it's a mean animal. And it would get stuck in that mold, and we'd be digging that mold out. I mean, literally digging it out. So it really took a long time. So then finally, when we got it to start to release using silicone, like we said, but then we got rid of some of the deformities, but we couldn't get rid of all of them. I contacted all the different companies that sold releasing agents, and as I contacted them, they said, well, the best release agent in the world is silicone, but silicone counter-reacts with polyurethane.
Yeah, if silicone touches polyurethane block, I mean, you'll have these big holes in the block anywhere.
Or it'll make it just demold and come back down into the mold.
Yeah,
has
all
kinds of problems. But so we were trying all different waxes and everything that were from these release agents that were supposed to be for like taxidermists that use polyurethane, and dashboards in cars and trucks and everything that they use polyurethane. But it takes several coats of wax in their application to be able to get those parts to release. And so it's a very slow, time-consuming process. And I knew that we could never be cost competitive if we're producing only 20 block every day, or even if we produce 20 block an hour, you could never stay in business. You'd have to charge almost $100 a block.
You can't get the economies of scale that allow you to bring it to the market. And so Dan had to develop through trial and error as well. Really just mixing different compounds and taking notes. And I mean, you mentioned that you had stacks and stacks of notebooks as you were developing this product, really over a 15, 20-year period. As he was developing this the special sauce, we call it the mold release, but that allows us to air eject our block, and so our cycle times are more like every 8 to 10 minutes. In addition to just normal business problems, dealing with partners and ideas and marketing and trying to make everything work together and all the cogs come together and work, the construction industry kind of has its own fun little animals. You have an industry that has been really slow to change, and those are for a number of reasons. But one reason is because they want to go with the tried and true. A lot of times they're on such a tight schedule as well, with both time and cost. If anything gets thrown off, even $100, like I was mentioning, that can all across what they're building, that can equal significant losses. And so really we have to educate about the product. We have to educate about the better way to build, about the advantages and those type of things, and then really get out there and find the people who are forward thinking in the industry that are looking at doing the change. One of the best places to be an entrepreneur is a niche market. You talked about building a better mousetrap. That's been repetitive kind of in our conversations, but it's finding a niche market where you can make it just a little bit better and make a profitable business. And as you become profitable, then you can add these other things. If you try and go mainstream and go against some of these mainstream companies in these well-established industries, you can lose your shirt, because you're going up against people who have funding way beyond what entrepreneurs are ever going to have. And a lot of times there's lots of ideas that have been already established. And so if you want to be an entrepreneur, I think the biggest thing to do is look for a little niche market, something that you can just improve upon a little bit, that's a little bit of a side industry.